All right. Welcome back to the Rebel Truth.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Jenny Badgema. Justin's here with me. And today we have a special guest. This is Kelly Moeggenborg. Kelly is a local person here. She lives near us. We first met Kelly because she was one of our customers and just got to know a lot more about her and the um, involvement she has in our local community about food, health, and feeding your family real healthy food. So today, Kelly, who is better known as Kelly the Kitchen Kop, is a Michigan-based food educator, blogger, and author who helps families move from processed factory food to simple, nourishing, real meals rooted in what the Weston A. Price principles. She's taught thousands of families how to make the shift without overwhelm or perfection. So, if you've ever felt stuck or confused, or just plain tired of trying to eat better in a world full of junk, today is for you. All right, Kelly. So let's start out with a little bit about you, just so people know where you're coming from. Because I
Okay.
know I've read your story, and you didn't start out as a real food person. That was something that you've had to learn in your adult life. So
Oh,
tell me about
yes.
your journey from health.
So first of all, I want to give a shout out to my friend Susan who told me about you guys. Many, I don't know how many years ago it was now, but
Awesome.
anyway,
Hi,
yes. So
Susan.
I grew up with a mom who she worked full time, and she did cook homemade meals for dinner almost every night, but we had processed junk for cereal breakfast and lunch and school lunches and well, actually school lunches back then, way back when we had the actual lunch ladies who made real food. It was so
They
exciting.
actually had kitchens in their
Yeah.
schools. Yeah.
And everyone like Kent and I, we grew up in the same hometown, and my siblings were always talking about our favorite lunch lady meals. Everyone had their favorites. So, but then when Kent and I got married, it was kind of more processed food. It was all about convenience. I really didn't think it mattered like what you ate. And at the time I was, didn't have to worry about weight or didn't have to worry about, raising a family healthily or anything like that. And we ate fast food, I would say 2 to 3 times a week. And if I did cook at home, it was really fancy meals like hamburger helper and junk like that. So it just I kind of really thought convenience was what was so important. So then I had some of our kids, and I still didn't really put that much into what I was feeding them. And then one day a friend of mine told me about the Weston Price Foundation. So I it's one of those moments where I still remember where I was sitting the day that I went downstairs where our computer was at the time, and I started researching and reading articles on the Weston Price site. And I was down there for a couple hours before the family woke up, and it's like light bulbs were going off in my head like crazy. I couldn't believe how I had been duped to thinking that the whole fat-free, sugar-free thing was good for you. Like, I had been eating margarine, like, that was what was in my fridge all the time, and I thought that I didn't like the sugar-free stuff, but I kept trying to like it. So I kind of fell for that, and so did the rest of my family, my siblings and everyone too, and so I like I said, that was sort of when everything the my world a new world opened up for me, and I realized that I had to change what we were doing and that it was going to be a huge change for our family because I wanted to do better for them than I had been doing. Thankfully, my husband was so awesome. He was on board. He grew up on a farm, and none of this was that big a deal to him. When I said I wanted to start looking into raw milk, he's like, okay. And when I said I wanted to buy a, $300 or $400 Bosch kitchen mixer so I could start making our bread, he's like, all right, whatever. And so he's, been really cool all along. And he is, my biggest cheerleader, and he's the one that now he loves to cook too. And I mean, he always did a little bit, but now he and my oldest son, the three of us cook together all the time. Sometimes my daughter will join in. And so we make it fun now. And it's like a challenge to try to find food that is good for you and tastes good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. What along that journey, like what point was it, you're hearing all these things and you're thinking, okay, so this actually matters. Like it's actually doing something to my body or it's affecting something outside of bigger than me.
Well, over the years, I just noticed that I have so much energy. And I think a lot of that is because I'm not afraid of butter. And, butter is so good for you, really does give you energy and helps your immune system and everything else. So a lot of people are, they get up and they're dragging or whatever, and I have great energy all day. So I think that's part of it. Also, I didn't think at the time that we had any health issues. Like a lot of people will come to this type of eating because they're sick and they have to make changes. And we didn't have that I thought. But then later, after I'd been, I made the switch and I was getting rid of all the, processed food and the dyes and adding in all the nutrient dense foods and the meat from farmers we knew and healthy fats. When I made all those changes, I did start to notice a difference in our kids. We had less behavior issues, less learning issues. So that was huge. But even beyond our own family, it's just all the stories that I've heard from my readers over the years who tell me about the changes they make and how it has changed everything for their family.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I think sometimes people, in the tradition, in the conventional system, you're going to the doctor, and you get to a certain age and it means you're probably gonna have to get on blood pressure medication, or, you get to a certain weight. Okay, well, there's pills to take for that,
Yep.
you got heartburn. Okay, well, now you can start to take a pill for that. And it's just like a natural thing. So people don't even think of them as health issues. They think of them as a normal part of life.
Right. And it
The
makes,
American way.
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
that, Justin?
It's the American way, the easy option. Even going back to the food, to the microwave dinners and everything's prepackaged and the lunch bowls. I had that stuff growing up, the Pop Tarts, all that crap.
Mhm.
And it was convenience. Yes, my mom would definitely make home cooked meals. To your point of the hamburger helper, we weren't far off from that. It might have been lasagna with some other highly processed noodles, but they just truly didn't understand. They really didn't know. Nobody was asking. I don't think people were really asking those questions back then. I don't think it was done. My mom definitely didn't try to like poison us as children. It
Yeah.
was never her intent. If she knew better, she would have definitely, I think, changed that. But that was what was sold back then.
Yep.
I'm
And
a kid that
everyone
grew up.
trusted that what was in the food wasn't going to kill you.
Well,
People actually thought that we could trust the government. And
I
now I think
I
people are
think you're
starting to
hitting
do
a huge point, Kelly. You're talking about trust, and we're talking about my parents. They grew up after the baby boomer generation. Well, they are the baby boomer generation, right? But after World War II, they came back. There was a lot of trust in our government institutions after the war.
that.
And so people didn't question the official narrative. People weren't skeptical that people didn't think, they didn't believe that our government would lie to us or that institutions would lie to us or that bureaucracy would rule the day over, truthfully what's in our best interest. And I think I used to feel this way that, oh, those in charge, they're looking out for our best interests. And for
Yep.
me, it wasn't until I joined the Marine Corps and went to a bullshit war that I realized that, oh, this isn't about what's best for us as citizens. This is about what's best for the bigs. And that was a light bulb
Right.
moment for me.
And you know what? I think as sort of a side note, that's one reason or one good that I think a huge good that came out of COVID crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that so many people had their eyes opened up.
Yeah.
So Kent and I, we knew it was a scam from the beginning. It wasn't hard to figure out that it was a big scam when, I don't know if you guys want me to go on and on about this, but, when, the bars were open and the casinos, but we couldn't go to church.
Yeah.
So, a lot of that was pretty clear that it was a scam. But I think when it comes to vaccines and all that, everyone's eyes, I think not everyone, a lot of people's eyes have been opened up because of that.
Yeah. I think it's definitely taught them to be more skeptical and think about their decisions before they make them. And that's really what we needed, because I've heard that, you hear the phrase slowly, slowly, and then all at once. And it's kind of what's happened. It's slowly, we've given up our more and more of our choices and ability to see the transparency for convenience, and which has led to us not even knowing what decisions we're making or having less and less decisions to make.
Yep.
I think it also goes back to the easy button. A lot of us don't want to have to think about what we're doing daily. A lot of us
Yeah.
don't want to have to think deeper. And I
Right.
believe the definition of intelligence is being able to hold two opposing views at the same time, to look at both sides of the situation. One of my mentors says there's actually three sides of a coin: heads, tails, and the edge. And I think that
Mm.
for me, that's a very helpful way of looking at things. It's not black or white. There's a lot of gray. And one of the questions that I've always asked, that I share this with Jenny all the time, is who stands to benefit from anything,
Yes.
from any policy, from any law, from any decree, from any official narrative? I always go to who stands to benefit. And when we look at it from that perspective, it becomes very clear what could be true. And so often it's not what we really want to believe.
Yeah, I think that often this can feel very overwhelming to people when they start to go down this path, right? And it's like once you start to go down the rabbit hole, and you start to uncover things, you're like, whoa. So Kelly, I know that you've spent a lot of time educating people and teaching them about just even the beginning of it. So where do you think is the best place for people to start with if they want to change their food and their habits?
So, first of all, just like you guys were saying, we got to start questioning things and not being sheeple. And a good first way to start doing that with your food is to start reading labels and try to buy more food without labels.
Hmm.
And just that can be overwhelming for people. But I do have, if you get my newsletter, maybe you could link to that, or
Yeah, definitely. We'll
I
link to that in the comments or in
I
the
have
description.
okay, good. Yes. So I have a free newsletter, and when you sign up for that, for those emails, then there's a whole grocery store cheat sheet, I call it. And it's the whole first chapter of my book. And it helps people like look at each food category and say, okay, when I'm buying meat, what do I look for? What's good, better, best in that category? What if when I'm buying, um, even like rice, or whatever you're looking at the store, and sometimes I'm just like, don't even get that, or
Yeah.
make that yourself at home. But that is a way to you can kind of take it with you and be like, okay, and get some more clarity on that too. A big thing that they should be avoiding when they're looking at labels are seed oils. I think that's one of the worst things for our health. So that would be things like canola oil or soybean oil. Those are in almost everything. So you really have to look. You can, if you're struggling, I tell everybody, just email me. I can tell you, I'm happy to tell you if you can't find a better version, just email me and I'll tell you what I do. So that's one of my favorite things really about what I do, is helping people one-on-one like that. And I think my readers like that I'm accessible. Sometimes I can't answer like right away, but I always answer,
Mhm.
because I just feel like that's what I wanted when I was making the change and changing everything over in our house. I wanted someone like that to help me. And at the time, there weren't that many people even kind of in this space. But yes, so I really want to help people with that. The other thing is to, when you're getting rid of the seed oils, to then add in, don't be afraid to add in healthy fats. Now, there's the politically correct healthy fats that everyone says, oh, avocado and olive oil, which those are good. I'm not saying they're not good, but nobody mentions the healthy fats like butter and tallow and lard and coconut oil, these saturated fats, animal fat. Coconut oil is not animal fat, but people are
Yeah.
afraid of animal fats, it seems like. And I just want to scream, like, they're so good for you. They'll help
Yeah.
so many things. They help your body, and they fight inflammation, and they give you energy, like I was saying before. So I want people to realize that. The other thing is, you know, Justin, you were talking about the easy button. And I know that is what a lot of people are looking for, but that's another thing I want to really help people with. It's really not that hard. Like, say, you go like a Hidden Valley Ranch, that label is scary if you look at
Yeah.
the label at the store. And so many people just love their Hidden Valley Ranch, and it's got soybean oil and all sorts of other junk. But you know how easy it is to make homemade ranch at home that's really good? It takes maybe 3 minutes. You just dump a few things and mix it together. And so there's so many things like that that really are easy. It's This way of eating is not tricky. I mean, there's some things like, like sourdough. I love making sourdough, and that does take time, but I've got it down. Like, it's no big deal, and everyone loves it. And it's the healthiest bread in the world.
That's a
So
great
really, it's
point.
a new muscle, right?
Exactly.
It's retraining. It's
Yep.
it's unlearning what we've been taught, either intentionally, directly, or unintentionally, indirectly. I know for me, after even the military coming out, and I kind of had to unlearn all the things that I thought I knew up until that time in my life. And so in my mid 20s, I was reinventing myself and seeking out. For me, I got into economics. I realized coming out of the wars in Iraq what it was really about to me. That it came down to three things: money, power, and control. And so I really wanted to research those three things and find out why. And I had to unlearn everything I'd learned before in school and had to find real teachers to find my truth. And I think this is the same thing in the food system here. All the big food producers, they have so much money in marketing, so much money. I mean, the Super Bowl commercials for Doritos and Pepsi and you name it, all that crap, it's so overwhelming. And the amount that we see each day on billboards, on the aisles in the grocery stores, at our schools, in the vending machines, like what the heck, like
doctor's offices, vending machines at the hospital.
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in a hospital. I was fed that crap.
Yeah.
I remember being in the military thinking, man, they're going to feed us the best, cleanest food in the world. The most elite, war fighters.
Yeah.
It was just calories. It was just calories.
Yeah.
Junk.
And not only was it not nourishing, it was harmful.
Absolutely. 100%. In my opinion, I agree with you on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And unfortunately, you don't see that until later in life. So they're fed as young, healthy people. They're fed crap. But the results don't happen till later in life. Unfortunately, that's something that happens.
And
Although
also,
it sometimes is not till later in life, but lately there's so many kids getting sick too.
Oh, yes. I think that speaks to our food supply lacking nutrition for so long, being so depleted that it's so depleted that even it's such a young life, and as you're growing a baby, as a woman, as you have a baby, like you're eating food that's nutrient deficient, and that's a whole another thing to talk about. It's scary how many kids are getting sick and how just chronic disease and obesity and cancer, and it's very scary.
I believe the number one cause from a disease in younger people is now colon cancer.
Oh.
I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense. It lines up.
Yeah.
The crap we're putting into our bodies, these ultra processed foods and chemicals and ingredients that are manufactured in a lab somewhere. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it speaks very much to our digestion, because that's another huge issue as we're eating all those processed foods.
And then there's the gut-brain connection between, your digestion and your brain. And that's why so many people are depressed and so many kids have anxiety. I mean, when we were growing up, we were just, you might have a bad day or be bummed for a little bit, but it wasn't like this chronic anxiety that kids struggle with now. And it's so sad.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about families a little bit more, because I think that's a really important thing to talk about. One thing we've changed with our family is our daughters make their own meals every day. We have a 10-year-old and a 16-year-old, and they've both been making their meals. We have rules, and and I'll let you speak to a little bit too, but I'm going to tell you a little bit what we've decided to do. Okay. So we have a requirement. They have to choose one vegetable. Fruit is optional, which they always choose a fruit because they love fruit, and a main item, which is some type of protein. So that can be like an animal protein, chicken, usually it's leftovers, or it can be like yogurt, like a Greek yogurt, organic Greek yogurt, something like that. So we have those rules. And then outside of that, they can choose, sometimes they'll grab like a bag. We get a bag of chips with avocado oil chips. So they'll grab a little bag of chips or something like that. We really encourage them to choose their own foods, make their own lunches. And at the times when they have gotten like a school lunch and it makes their stomach hurt or it makes them tired, makes them grumpy. Yeah. We have a conversation about it. We talk about why do you think you feel that way? What did you have for lunch today? Good. So it really relates it back to it. And because of that, I truly think it's because of that, our kids really make really good decisions about the food that they eat that's presented to them.
Awesome. For that age too, that's really awesome, because a lot of times it takes, like they just eat what you make them up to a certain age, and then they start kind of rebelling a little bit, and hopefully they come back. But your girls are kind of right in that stage. That's great that they're still into it.
Yeah.
And I would say they're not ashamed. They're not embarrassed. Because I can remember growing up, my best friend, we all viewed his mom as the health nut, right? Like that was the label. Like she was cuckoo. That's what we thought, because she was all this healthy food stuff. And we're like, food's food. Like, what does it matter? Just having no clue, how oblivious we were to the truth. And she was way ahead of the times in that regard. But I'm glad our kids don't feel that way.
That's what the kids used to say to my kids too. They thought I was the freak, but they'd come over and I would make them food that was good. And they'd be like, whoa, they always wanted to come back because I made good stuff,
Yeah,
That
they
can
get to
add
try.
flavor.
Yeah, they get to try things. Usually, when they come to our house, they get to try things they've never had before. Different cuts of meat, and
Yeah.
because typically people don't cook all the different types of things.
Hmm.
So what would you say, Kelly, to a family out there that's looking to feed their maybe haven't been down this road and need to transition? Like, what are things that they can do to transition their food supply over to a healthier food supply?
I would say meal planning is huge. Um, that really is one of the ways that they can avoid eating out, is to make a plan. I do it on Sundays. I sit down and look at my week and what it's going to look like. So, like if I know I'm going to be gone a whole day, then that'll be a crock pot day, and I'll throw it in the crock pot that morning. But there's also times that everything falls apart, and like it's 4 o'clock, and I realize I forgot to get meat out again. So then I have a whole list of fast food at home meals that everyone likes. So, that's another way to avoid eating out. You just, instead of going to grab something, you just like, okay, I can make something quick with what I have here. And and that actually, I think that's in, also you get that if you sign up for my newsletter. I have a like a cheat sheet they can get for that too. Um let's see what else as far as how to make the switch. Learn how to cook. Don't be afraid of cooking with, like I said, all the healthy fats and plenty of salt and herbs and spices. Like, make it taste good. Make it a challenge to find recipes. There are so many resources now that we didn't have before,
Yeah,
and you can find good recipes online that are really easy, and they taste great. So it's not like you have to eat cardboard just because you're eating healthy.
right.
So I mean, I had a lot of food flops when I was learning how to switch over. I mean, I had so many loaves of bread that were like bricks, and and the family, put up with a lot in the beginning, but I've got it down now pretty well. I mean, we eat really well. As a matter of fact, we went to Italy a couple of years ago, and everyone says the food in Europe is so good, and it was good, but none of us were like floored
Hmm.
because we eat so well here. Like the other night, our son made this like a mushroom wine cream sauce, and it tasted like this amazing French dish. And it wasn't even difficult. It was, it's so easy. And he's got other really good recipes that he makes, and my husband has specialties he likes, and we all just enjoy. We're foodies, so we really love food, and I think that's a big part of it too. So you make it kind of a challenge, but you do have to prioritize it time wise and money wise. But you have to give it some time each week to do some planning and look at what you have in the freezer and what you need to get at the store. And I don't need to get that much from the store. I mean, when I do go to the grocery store, it's almost always the perimeter where I get, like I might get some cheese, or I might get some organic orange juice, which we don't even drink that much. But it's just stuff on that. The produce is the main thing I go to the store for. And in the summer, I'm hardly ever there at all because I get my produce at the farmer's market or over at a farm stand. So,
Hmm.
yeah, did I answer your
That's
question?
yeah, that's great. No, that's a good point. I think another point too, actually the last Weston A. Price meeting that I went to, she spoke to this oh, what was her name that spoke there?
Oh, Ann
Anne,
Sargent.
yes, Anne Sargent, yeah. So she spoke to this about shrinking your pantry. Like, you don't need to have you don't have to have a complicated menu every single night. Like
Right.
to have like there's nights where same thing, right? It's like 4 or 5 o'clock at night. We don't have plan for dinner. What are we gonna have? We're gonna have burgers. We're gonna have
Burgers.
smash burgers. Yeah. Or we're gonna have tacos. And that's it.
Yeah.
There's
Or
no other
spaghetti.
side.
Spaghetti's an easy one. I mean, some people don't like to eat pasta, but we eat organic pasta now and then.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times I'll substitute if I don't, because we don't eat a lot of pasta, but I'll just substitute potatoes in. Like if it's a
Yeah.
soup or whatever, I'll just use potatoes instead of pasta because we don't eat a lot of pasta. But
Yeah.
just I think it's like Justin said, it's a mindset shift of like you don't have to have a starch and a vegetable and a drink to go with it. And like, you don't have to have all these different things. You just need a protein. You just need like one healthy protein. And
Yep.
if it's good to eat a variety, but you can't do that every single day. You can't have
Right.
in today's world, you can't have a busy life and have busy children and still cook a 5-star meal.
No.
It's just
And you
not
don't
going to
need,
happen.
this is it, you really don't need to.
Yeah.
I think it can also be very intimidating from somebody looking in from the outside. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, I got to change my whole life." And for us, it didn't start that way. It started with one thing. And then that one thing led to the next thing and then to the next thing. So really it's a journey. I mean, it has been for us. And
Mhm.
we're still on that journey. We're still learning new things, and we're still getting rid of things in our diets. And I don't know if that'll ever stop. I mean, it's I love to learn. Jenny loves to learn. It's a big part of who we are. When we got together,
Mhm.
that's really important that we would learn together and grow as we got older. But I don't know if this journey will ever end. So I wouldn't want somebody to be intimidated about, like, I could never do what they're doing. I think it starts with one thing. Okay, try one thing. Try real beef. Try
Yeah.
real burgers. And to Jenny's point, we don't have the sides. Very, very seldom are there more than three things on our plates.
Oh
It's
yeah, we're not like that either. There's times where we might just have burgers.
Oh
Like
yeah,
if we're busy, we won't put anything with it.
Yep.
100%. 100%. For us, it's burger and a salad. Let's hopefully the salad is our
Yeah.
side. We have a great CSA and we love our produce. We know the farmer that's raising it. We think that's really important. I would encourage people to get to know a farmer. Find someone that you can trust, your source of food, and just start building a relationship with them. Just start talking with them and asking questions. And maybe don't ask them 1,000 questions all at once, bombard them, but like start that
Probably
journey.
love it.
What's
They
that?
like to answer questions, so they'll probably love it.
Absolutely, absolutely. But just starting on that journey is just, I think, the most important thing.
Hmm.
Yes, and
So
it is attainable. I don't want people to think that it's not attainable because it is. And there's, like I said, there's so many resources now, and they can email me with any questions. And even like, like people say, what do you do for for hamburger buns? Email me. I'll tell you the kind I get. They're from a local baker that use fermented bread. I mean, or you can make your own buns too. I do that sometimes. I make pretzel buns. I did that once on vacation, and my husband, like, we're in Puerto Rico, and like we're on they have this like house on the beach, and my husband's like, "You're making homemade hamburger buns on vacation?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Look at this view I have while I'm making them, first of all." But it took me like a half hour, and because I couldn't find any at the store. They were so bad. I couldn't, yes, there's times that you can just say, fine, one time won't kill me, but those times is getting harder for me.
hmm.
So I'm like, it takes me a half hour to make homemade pretzel buns. They were so good. So, but there are resources for everything, and everything is figure outable. That's not really a word, but there's a
That
way to
works.
figure out everything. I'll say it like that.
Yep.
And if you're not sure, just email me or ask Justin and Jenny. I mean, there's always, answers to your questions that, I have a really hard time finding this, or I don't know how to make this in a healthy way, or whatever. Just reach out, and there's people that are happy to help you.
Kelly, I'm just going to put a little selfish plug in. Next time you make pretzel buns, if you
Yeah.
have any extras,
Yeah.
we would definitely use them. So
They
just
are
put
so
that out
easy to make. You wouldn't believe how easy they are.
Usually our go-to bun is just a piece of sourdough bread. That's what we eat for
Yeah.
our buns.
I know, for hamburger bun though, like for smash burgers, we really like, the ones we get from it's called Little Rooster, in case anyone's
Oh
local.
yeah.
The Little
Hmm.
Rooster Bread Company. We'll just grab those, and those are just so good with smash burgers. And sometimes I don't want a heavy bun with a burger, like I want like a little bit lighter bun. So
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about another thing I think that people have a hard time getting over the hurdle with talking about changing their food is the cost of it. And we get
yeah,
a lot of comments about costs about our food because if you
I'm
compare
sure.
it to grocery stores, it doesn't compare.
Yeah,
In our mind, we know the work that goes behind raising our animals and getting that meat on somebody's table. So, we understand the cost behind it, but I think a lot of people don't. And I think it would be great for us to talk a little bit more about how to change to a healthy food system, with still having a budget and needing to be thoughtful about what you're spending on your food.
yeah. So
So what, yeah,
I
sorry.
would say,
What are some of your tips that you have, or what are some thoughts that you have about people switching their food over?
so a big one is making your meat stretch. So I think Ann Sargent talked about that at the meeting the other day too. So like you make a roast chicken. And for our family, we put some legs with it because one chicken's not enough for our family. But we just put some legs with it. And then afterwards, like right now, I have, oh, that reminds me, I got to turn that down. I have broth on the stove from our chicken on Sunday. So I'm making broth that I'll use for soup, and I'll use for rice, and I'll use for a million things that I use broth for.
Mm.
And Also, the leftover chicken, I'll use in another recipe. So a lot of times that chicken will turn into like a chicken Alfredo, over rice. Or if we make a big roast, then the meat turns into, maybe tacos the next day with that leftover meat. There's always ways you can stretch, good meat, and you can get more, at least 2 meals out of it, almost always. And then the other thing is, we don't have I think it's okay for once a week to have a meal that is without meat, whether, sometimes we'll just have it easy, like grilled cheese and homemade tomato soup, or sourdough bread and eggs, egg sandwiches or something. Like, I think it's okay to do that now and then. And then the other thing is, again, to meal plan. So you know that nothing's going to waste, and you can plan those second meals that I talked about. I do actually. Okay, so this isn't like a shameless, sort of as a shameless plug for my book, but honestly, I don't make hardly anything on these books. So, but I just want to help people because, again, my book is what I wish that I had when I was making the switch. And so there's chapters in there all about like what to do, how to feed real food on a budget, and how to make time for real food, and how to deal with the complaints that mom and dads get sometimes on
Mhm.
when they make the switch. So that would be helpful too, to grab that, because I think it has a lot of tips in there for you.
One of the things that we believe is, and that we experience ourselves, is when we eat real protein, real meat, we don't need to eat as much. You
So
know,
true.
we'll eat a thigh, or I'll eat 2 thighs. I love chicken thighs. My 16-year-old will eat 2 or 3 thighs, but like we eat that in a salad and like we're full. That
Yep.
and maybe some roasted vegetables that Jenny cooks up or something, but we're not eating a bunch of all these other fillers. It's actually real food that fills us up.
Yeah, totally. And we have a lot of diabetes in my family. And so I'm really trying to avoid that. So I've been doing more low carb lately. And so I haven't been eating, as much, whatever carbs and stuff as normal. But the other day we had chicken thighs for dinner, and literally one thigh, I was so full I didn't want any more. Even, we had some veggies with it, like you said, and it does fill you up more, and it's so nutrient dense compared to the other
Hmm.
junk you could be eating.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One of our partner farms out in Iowa, actually, he raises beef for us. Jenny and I visited his farm operation this past fall, and it was awesome. He's got a herd on 700 acres, but super passionate about nutrient dense beef, super passionate about omega 6, omega 3 ratios, and really getting his head around it. And he's having his meat tested in a lab for the
Fun.
nutrition and for the omega 3 to omega 6 ratios. And it's like really cool. It was just really cool to hear somebody that's so passionate about it, and really cool to know that he's one of our partner farms raising beef for us.
I
And
love it that
also,
you guys are so careful about who you work with too. That's
and
huge. And
he's
that's
also a veteran, which is near and dear to who we are.
my
And
husband is too. Did you know that my husband was in the Marine Corps as well?
oh, really? I did not know that. Awesome.
Yep.
Hoorah.
Yep. So, yeah, so I love that they're talking about omega 6, omega 3 ratios. I'm really passionate about that. I tell people most people should be taking cod liver oil. Some people can't stomach it for some reason. I don't think it's not hard for me anyway. I feel the difference when I'm taking it and not taking it. I don't want to, sometimes I get irritated, maybe a little bit with the kids, and
Don't know what you're
and so
talking
it
about.
really helps me. I call it my all natural chill pill. But pastured meats is the same thing. Like, you're getting your balance in your omega. If people eat too many processed foods with the seed oils, even nuts, people think nuts are so healthy, and they are, like, if you prepare them right, whatever and stuff. But too many nuts, though, again, they're full of omega 6s, and you
Hmm.
have to have a balance. Otherwise, you're going to have anxiety, and it's going to cause inflammation. So that's another reason that healthy pastured meats, like you guys have, make such a huge difference in people's health.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
absolutely.
of the big things that Jenny and I talk about too is that as far as our healthcare goes, we're going to pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah.
And we believe that we can either pay for it in the front end with what we're consuming and ingesting, or we can pay it on the back end. And at that point, health might be compromised. Health might not be something you can recover from
Exactly.
disease. And so I think we really are at that point where I think there's a direct correlation between the food we're consuming and disease. I think, to me, there's no doubt about it. 100%. I
Same.
see it as I drive to our farm down the road, 10 minutes down the road. I pass thousands of acres of monocrop field, and the amount of spraying that I see is insane. It's
Yeah, like how
insane
could
to me.
that not harm us?
Oh, I don't need to have a biology science background to make a correlation myself. Like,
Yeah,
I don't want it. I don't want it.
it's a no-brainer.
But sprayed by tractors, sprayed by crop dusters, sprayed by drones. That's a new big one that I've been seeing a lot of. Just the
Mhm.
amount of pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides that are being used in conventional systems, it's insane. It's not just a one-time application. They're using it all the time around us.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I wish more people could see that. So for us, the more we can get away from that conventional system, the absolute better. I was
Yeah,
just
and the
gone through.
crops don't die. The crops don't die when they spray all this on because they're genetically
Yeah,
modified to live. The crop lives by everything around it dies.
yeah.
And so then we're eating all of that. And for
And oh, by the way, that technology is not that old. We're talking, I think, in the 90s when it became mainstream, right, Jenny? As far as
Yeah,
glyphosate and
those
Roundup
were.
Ready, corn, soy.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember Kent's dad, I told you he grew up on a farm. And before he died, I asked him, you know, questions about the old farming days and stuff. And basically, the way he farmed was all natural, because that was affordable too at the time. And basically, what happened is they said you had to either go big or get out, and so
That's
he got
President
out.
Nixon in the 70s said that to the farmers. Well, it was his ag secretary said that in the Nixon administration: go big
Yeah,
or go home.
and that's what happened. So Ron stopped farming, and went and got. I think he was always working another job too, but yeah, so I thought that was sad. You can think of all the farmers then that bought into it. Again, they aren't, the bad guys either. They were doing what they thought that they should do, and
Hmm.
trying to make a living and stuff too. But I love farmers like you guys who have seen the light and want to do it well and are serving people in that way.
I just want to touch on one more thing. You're talking about these farmers who are not bad people, and I totally agree with you. I think they're in a bad system. They're caught up in a bad system.
Yeah.
And where the problem today is that the majority of the food money is going to equipment and it's going to inputs, synthetic fertilizers, pesticide, fungicide, herbicide sprays, uh,
Mm.
fertilizer, all those inputs, soil amendments. And so little of the dollar now is left for the farmer. And this past year in America, soybean farmers, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but soybean farmers got crushed where they were losing money for every acre that they had in the ground. And that's not sustainable. And so then what we need to have is subsidy from our governments. Now we have subsidized food systems for crappy food.
Yeah.
And it's really hard for them to get out of that. When you have debt payments on $3 million in tractors and equipment, and you're buying a new grain dryer and semi trucks to move your grain off the field, and some of these guys are doing thousands of acres with a very ragtag crew of guys and women that are actually doing the farming. Only a couple people, and they're trying to leverage technology however they can.
Yeah. It's a sad system, and I feel bad for them, especially the ones who kind of their eyes are open and then they're stuck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. A lot. We have, majority of farmers in our country right now, like in their 60s, and there's a huge worry for the next generation of farmers. Like the next generation doesn't either can't afford to take over their family farm or doesn't want to because they've
Yeah.
watched their parents suffer so much and barely make it by to be yeah, just not being able to be successful at all.
Yeah.
Here's a scary stat for you. The largest transfer of land, of agricultural land in this country, is about to take place over the next decade. So, in the next 10 years, all those 65-year-old farmers will be transitioning out of farming. What's going to happen? If those family members don't take over that land, what are they going to do with it when dad or grandpa passes away? Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen more than likely. They're going to sell it to a developer because they can sell it for 3 to 4 times the sales price that they could to an agricultural producer. And
Mm.
I know this because we're trying to buy more farmland,
Yeah.
and I'm competing against housing development.
Oh, really? Ugh.
100%.
Or then
100%.
the other thing is, I don't know if that's happening in Michigan, it probably is, but you hear about all the land down south where big billionaires, whatever, are buying up so much land. That freaks me out too.
Hmm.
Is that happening here? Do you know?
I don't think we have as much large acreage as other states do in our country to buy like huge giant plots of land. So I think we're not as we're not looked at as much, but I think they do own it in our I know that Bill Gates owns land in our state. I'm not sure how much, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you who else is a thing. And again, I'm not saying right or wrong, but this is something that's currently happening today. Data centers.
Oh, yeah. That's going to
So,
change things
so
huge.
they're looking for raw land.
Mm,
And what is that raw land? Well, I can think of one not too far from us here that's in the news right now, and it's cornfield.
mm,
That's what they're looking at for developing.
yeah. Well, they
wow.
have to. It's not like they're going to tear down buildings to do it. I mean, they're looking for open land that's easy to develop. So, and they're get subsidies to do that. And then so
Yeah,
that
and it's going to be
inflates the
harder
price.
for the average person than to find land if they want some, right?
Exactly.
Like you guys, you
It
know.
inflates the price for the farmer, for somebody trying to get into farming right now,
Mhm.
to be able to pay for even just land and to put in like a water, fencing, even the minimal type of infrastructure that we need to do like pasture raised farming. It's so expensive. It's
Mm-hmm.
just to do that, and you have to do all that before you even get a cent paid to you.
Yeah, you paid all up front.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you might carry that with debt, but still, you're taking on that. Farmers take on a tremendous amount of risk. That's just the truth. And I think that I know growing up for me, I did not have the respect I have today for farmers because now I've stepped in those boots, right? And I used to look down on farmers, and I'm ashamed to say that, but it's true. I used to look down on that they had a farm, they couldn't do what everybody else was doing, getting a job, and I totally don't believe that anymore. Like I'd rather be the other way. I'd rather be farming than working in a city, commuting every day, and that's just a personal preference. I like space, I like land, I like nature, I like being outside.
Hmm.
But that
I think
that
that
way of life is diminishing this country, and we're importing more and more food into America. We're importing produce, we're importing fruits, we're importing beef and all the meat, seafood, all of it. It's all being imported today, and it's hard to compete economically, price per pound, against imports than it is to raise in this country.
Well, people are probably, wondering what they can do to like combat this. The biggest thing is buy local. You have to buy all your produce locally that you can. I mean, it's hard for us in the winter, obviously, but in the summer we have so many options for great produce here. Buy all your meat from locally from farmers. Do everything local that you can. Honey. If you don't make sourdough bread, you can buy that locally. There's so many ways that you could support local, and that's the only way that it's going to remain available.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even if it's just a small amount, even if it's just starting with one thing, but supporting local is definitely the way to help build up our small towns and small communities, to encourage more farming to happen. If people knew that there is a demand for that, they'll move into that space and they'll start farming if they know that there's actually a demand and people are willing to pay the prices that need to be paid to buy local food. Supporting local is so important if we want to continue to have choices, if we want to have healthy food available to us, and if we want to have transparency with what type of food that we're eating.
I
Kelly, I
think one
wanted to
thing.
ask. Sorry,
Hold on here,
just go ahead.
real quick. I think one thing that is really encouraging to me is that we absolutely a lot of our customers are they're choosing to reallocate a portion of their budget for real food. They're making
Yeah.
real sacrifices. I think that's really encouraging because people are finally waking up to this nonsense. People are finally waking up to we just we just think it's normal that we know everybody knows somebody with cancer. I mean, was it always that way? I don't think so. I think that people are finally waking up and like something's not right with the system, and that gives me hope that there will be another way. What Jenny and I are trying to create is our own food system outside of the bigs, outside of the supermarkets, and it gives me hope.
Yeah, and I think too, like I was sharing some ways that you can mitigate the costs of real food, but I do think that when it comes right down to it, you do have to prioritize this because everything valuable costs, and something that's valuable is your health, and good food is going to cost more. And so you have to just be willing to make that, a significant line item in your budget. And maybe other things will have to go for now. And I say this too when it comes to finding the time to cook all your meals or most of your meals or whatever. You have to make room for it. Maybe there's something that when it comes to time, especially, like, I think moms and dads try to do way too much. And looking back when I was raising the kids, I mean, our kids are all grown now, but I feel like I always was taking on way more than I should. Like, I should have just said no more. And so I would have more peace instead of running crazy all the time. And so I think that, our two biggest commodities, time and money, both you have to be wise and make choices, and some things have to go, and then some things have to be added that are important. And it's just a matter of just being wise and having common sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point, Kelly. I think so too. I know I'm guilty of myself with my family, is thinking that the more things I put in their schedule, the more activities we sign up for, the better parent I am. And I think that it actually takes away from us as a family unit, and it definitely takes away from our health if we're not home to eat. We can't connect as a family.
Stressed out,
We
running around.
Yes, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
My
and that's
kids,
sad.
my yes, and it just takes away from that. I think we're told something different by mainstream USA, that we have to be busy, we have to have our kids all these different things, and it really just takes away from us as a family when we can just be together and um, do things together. Yeah.
My husband was always really good about this over the years. I got mad at him sometimes because I kind of thought he was like being a stick in the mud, but he kind of kept me like from going too crazy. He got to the point where he's like, "Hal, I don't want you to plan anything on Sundays. We have to have a day where we're not running crazy." And so I finally, and I would just, people would ask him like, "Sorry, Kent doesn't like me to plan stuff on Sundays." I would kind of use him as the excuse, but he didn't care because it did make our Sundays so much nicer to have a breather. Have, like, God is smart. He knows we need one day that we're not chasing our tails. So that was really good. And then sometimes I'd, kind of like what you're talking about, Jenny, I would be like, "Hey, we should see if the kids want to do that, or we should do that. We should do that." And he's like, "Let's just not." And so I learned from him, not fast enough. I mean, I still tried to do too much so often, and I really regret that, as back from when I was a young mom, that I didn't choose wisely and not try to do so much. But
Hmm.
See, Jenny, there is hope for you. You will learn from me.
Yeah, Justin likes to just be home too, and I do too. Like, we both enjoy being home, but it's hard to like say no to your kids when they want to do all these things.
I know. And well, you can find a balance. You just
Yeah,
have to find a good balance.
yeah. So I'm glad you brought up your Sundays, because I know that your faith is really important to you, Kelly. So how has that influenced you in your journey, in your work in food and health?
Well, I do think of what I do as somewhat of a ministry, because my main goal is helping other people. I mean, I've never gotten rich doing what I'm doing. I always have just wanted to help that person that's struggling in whatever way. It's not just with food. People will contact me who are, like, I had a friend contact me the other day, and he's like, "Cal, are those antacids really bad?" And I said, "Don't do it." I said, "Are you having like reflux and stuff?" And this is a really good friend, so I could say this. Like everyone else, I have to say, "I'm not a doctor, do your own research on this." But this is a good friend. So I was like, if you, I send him, of course, I have a blog for everything. So I'm like, "Read this blog about how bad those antacids are and how long term they are really bad for your health." And then I said, "Just start eating like a couple spoonfuls of raw sauerkraut after your meals, and I'll bet it'll make a huge difference."
Hmm.
And sure enough, and he's like, "Well, I don't like it." I said, "You know what? Your palate will change. Just start eating a little bit. Pretty soon you're going to love it. And you're going to crave it." And he's like, "I can't believe I actually like it now." And it is helping his reflux. So everything, there's a natural remedy for almost everything. And so I love helping my readers find those natural remedies that are going to keep them from having bad side effects down the road. I love teaching them what we talked about today, how to make real food attainable and easy for their families. And so I do think of that as somewhat of a ministry. And also, we talked about dinners with with the whole family. And when all six of us are around the table, it feels like a holy moment. It's so special because, our kids are older and they're all working and stuff now. So when we're all together, I just thank God that we can have that time. And so, yeah, I do want to, helping people is number one for me. And I feel like God has given me this tiny little platform. It's small, but I try.
Yeah. I love that you've like just really dug into it, and you have used your gifts to help other people, and just your passion for helping other people, I think is really cool. I can really see that a lot through your newsletter and through your books, and I know my kids really enjoyed reading your books.
Really?
Yeah, my daughter, my 10-year-old, pulled it off. I had it on my desk, and she pulls it, and she's like, "Mom, can I read this?" I'm like, "Sure." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I agree with this. Yeah, this is
Was she did she read the kids one or the
the
adult one?
kids one." Yeah,
Okay, yeah. That's great.
yeah, it
Maybe
was
the
cute.
16-year-old would like the Real Food for Rickies for adults.
She probably would. I'll have to ask her about that one.
You know what I did when my kids were young? I didn't do it a lot because they would complain, but you could like I would like pay them $100 or $50 if they would read a book and write me a little synopsis on it or something. So I don't know if you want to do that because then it might be a chore instead of for fun. But
Bella reads, our older daughter. She can read a book in like hours. She's a
wow,
voracious reader, so
that's awesome.
I can't keep enough books in the house to keep her reading. So I would like to know, Kelly, what are some of the foods right now that are in your pantry or in your kitchen that are like your staple items? What are things that you have to have no matter what?
So I pretty much have everything stocked. You wouldn't believe. Okay, I'm so bad about this too. Like I go to Costco and I have my list. And I don't get that much there because it's mostly processed crap, right? But I buy butter in bulk, I buy cheese in bulk, I buy some paper products, whatever. And I'll be going down through the aisle. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'm out of that organic lemon juice. And when I come home and I've got 4 sets of food. Like I gotta stop doing that. But I do keep things stocked up pretty well because I don't want to make last minute trips to the store, which costs more money. So we have 5 freezers full of meat and some leftovers and um, I don't know what else I have in there. I have so many things. It's just everything's full. We could be fine for a while if we needed to. And but I don't like running to the store last minute. So
Mm.
obviously I'm sure maybe everybody does this. When you use the last one of any whatever it is, you're getting low on butter. I would never go down to my last butter though. I go to when I get my butter in bulk, Costco's like, how long is this gonna last you? Um, but yeah, so I just make sure to get more when we run out because I just want to have everything on hand no matter what I feel like making. And then I meal plan. So then I was talking about that on Sundays. I'll sit down and meal plan and then I'll figure out what I need to go with the meat that I'm pulling out of the freezer and what produce I need. That's pretty much the only thing I have to run to the store for. And I try to do it, ahead of time so it's not last minute. Um, did that answer your question? Like, I'm trying to think what
Yeah.
else. I mean, I just have everything on hand.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. I think it's important. I think you think about, okay, you're going to go into the grocery store and you just need one or two items, but it's like you're not going to leave the store with just one or two items. You're going to be distracted, and it takes time. And when I go in the grocery store, it is overwhelming because of the
Really, I
amount
love it.
of options. Oh, I do not like going to the grocery store. There's so many
Really.
things. Yes.
So, do you
So
do online? Like, if you need a few things from Meyer, do you do the online or the pickup
it's
since you
like
have
half and half. We don't go to the grocery store very often because we have, we get our
yeah.
own meat from ourselves, and then we use a local CSA, so we pick up
Yeah.
our veggies every other week right now. And
Hmm.
other than that, I just like a couple staples that we get. I go for, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So
I'm
that's
going to
nice.
second
I
that. I
like
hate
that.
going to the
Sorry.
store. I made a mistake
I know.
during Christmas season saying yes to Costco with Jenny, and it was insane. So never again do I need to set a foot in a Costco ever again. I don't need it. I don't enjoy all the people, the chaos, the rush, the madness. I don't want it.
Isn't that funny? I don't mind it at all. But there's other things I can't stand. Like I cannot stand cleaning my house. So I have somebody come once a month to clean the house.
Yeah, there you go. There's some things that are worth taking the convenience for.
Yeah. We all have our things. And
Yeah.
that's good. That's fine. Like, whatever maybe you hate, then you can outsource it somehow.
Yeah.
But not cooking.
Absolutely.
I don't think cooking you can outsource. I think you got to figure out a way to feed your family, whether it's super simplified meals. I do think that cooking can't be outsourced. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I want
Well, somewhat.
let me. Can I
Go
step
ahead,
in
Jenny.
here real quick, Jenny?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Before we got into this whole journey of farm, let's just say before COVID, okay, before 2020, before we actually were farming at scale, we used to love to go out to eat. It was easy. We didn't have to do the dishes. It was brought to us. Me and Jenny could connect and talk to each other, whatever the case is. But think about this: Normally that chef in the kitchen is some 19, 20, 21, 20 something year old kid
Mm-hmm.
using all the seed oils, all the crap. Like that's not good food. It's garbage. And they don't even know how to cook it right. So you get a piece of chicken, it's way overcooked. And by the way, it's
Yeah.
conventional chicken, so there is no flavor and there is no juiciness because it's grown super fast. It just we when we go out to eat, every single time we're just like just regretting it.
Because
Every
it's so
single
expensive too.
time. Oh yeah. Two people today, you're spending $100. If we go out somewhere
At
and
least.
have dinner and a couple drinks or whatever you do, you're
Mhm.
not getting out of there for under 100 some odd bucks.
Right.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we order our own meat and we're eating it and we're like, okay, so how much is this meal costing us? But if we were to have gone out to eat, it would be probably double, triple what we're paying for our meat. That's one way that we compare it. But we do outsource our cooking a little bit because my mom comes and helps us cook some meals. So
Oh, now see, that doesn't count. That's amazing. If you have
you
an
pay
option
her.
like that,
Generational. That's generational.
Yeah.
so smart. And I'll have to say too, it's not that we never go out because Kent and I have a lot of really good friends and we do go out with them to dinner on the weekends, like not as much as we used to though, because it's so expensive. So we do still go out, but sometimes what we do now is we'll just be like, you guys want to just come over and we'll just make dinner. Like, you can just relax as long as you want. You can have a drink that's not, you know, $12 for a
Yeah.
drink. You can just make, so we are doing that more, but we do go out sometimes. And it is tough because what what I'll do sometimes, depending on who I'm going out with, is I'll call ahead of time. This sounds really like I'm a real nut job here, but I'll call ahead of time and I'll ask the chef, like, if I know of a dish that I'm going to have there, I'll say, is there any way you can make this, fry it in butter and, make it without seed oils? And if I ask ahead of time, then it's not so awkward when, you're ordering and say, I talked to the chef, he said he could make that with butter, whatever. So there are ways, my husband would never do that. He would just eat it how it comes. And I think that the way that we eat at home, you know, like 27 out of 30 days of their 28 out of 31 days of the month is gonna cover, the little bit. But I
Totally
don't
agree.
want to think that it's okay. I think fast food, there's never a reason for fast food. I just don't. I mean, unless you find a place that can make decent food, but I don't know of one. And if it was, it'd probably be $25 a dish. I don't know. I just feel like there's no reason for fast food because there's so many easy fast foods to make at home.
Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. I think we had to learn, especially with our children, because right, 'cause kids are always hungry, so you're wanting to feed them all the time. But they've had to learn to either be patient or you grab a couple snacks before you leave. You grab a fruit, some banana, some peppers. And at first, when I did that, my kids would complain. They're like, "I don't want that. I just want to stop at McDonald's and go get some fries, Mom." I'm like, well, that's not what we're doing today. So you can either eat what I got you, or nothing at all.
Yeah.
When we were at that meeting too, somebody made the comment about how do you get your kids to eat healthy food? Hungry works.
Yeah. It does.
I thought that was a
It
pretty
does.
good.
And another thing that I'll share too about picky kids is I have a video or a blog post where my then 11-year-old was telling everyone I was videotaping him and it's shown him helping me make omelets with veggies and stuff. And I said, where did we get this stuff? And he said, at the farmer's market. And I said, who decided what we were going to get? And he said, I did, because I said, so do you think that's a way? I said, what's a way to help people who say their kids are picky and they don't want to eat things? He said, let them help you. So I think that's
Mhm.
huge, getting them involved and help them, maybe let them like meal plan with you. And then the other thing I was going to share about picky eaters is, that same kid through the years, he'd be like, I don't like that. Like he'd see what I'm making for dinner or whatever. And I think it's huge to not make a big deal of it and just be like, okay, whatever. And then a lot of times 10 minutes later, he's eating it. Or if he didn't want it, I'd be just like, make a sandwich then, whatever. And then the next time he might eat it. But I think the bigger deal you make of it, then the more they're going to dig their heels in.
Hmm. That's good advice, Kelly. Yep. I totally agree. These kids can be different on how they interact with it, but
Yeah,
I totally agree. It's sometimes it's when you make a big battle out of it, it kind of creates like a traumatizing moment instead of
exactly.
just okay, fine, And if you just keep demonstrating that to them over and over, because that's probably the most important thing is just showing them what it looks like to be healthy and eat healthy food. They're going to learn
Yeah.
from you.
Yep.
Hmm. So I'd like to ask a little bit your advice as we kind of get to the end here. What advice do you have to our listeners? Maybe somebody that's feeling discouraged or overwhelmed, or maybe they've tried it before and have fallen off the wagon. Like what do you say to them? What tips do you have to help them out?
I would just say, like I said before, feel free to email me with like whatever your biggest struggle is, and I can help out with that. And also, besides everything we've already said, I think community is so important. And like the local, find a local Weston Price chapter. So ours here in the Grand Rapids area is you go to nourishingways.org, and that will connect you with our Facebook page and our what's that, Telegram, I think is the other thing. And that will tell you when our next meetings are. And I think it's important and it's fun to come together with other people who are trying to figure all this out. And last time we had a good Q&A, and our speaker was answering a lot of the questions that we're talking about today. And you can ask local people, like, where do you get this? Or where do you get that? Or what do you do about that? And so I think that's huge, that community. I think it'll help a lot of people. And so look us up, and our next meeting is March 9th, and we're probably going to do another potluck. And Jenny was there last month, and it was kind of cool. Like we were talking about, everyone brought in a different dish, and we went around and kind of explained what was in it. And yeah, so it's just really, it's fun, and it's helps you kind of grow in your knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. That's a great point. I think one of the biggest things when Justin and I started Rebel that we didn't expect from starting it was like the tribe of people that we would
Mm,
attract to us. And through that I've learned so much. Like you said, like, well, what do you use for this? Okay, like where are you getting your milk from? What are you getting this from? Like just being able to ask those questions, especially when you want to buy locally or support, healthy farms, even if it's because sometimes you can't always find local. Sometimes you need to go
right,
outside of your local. Local can be local, but then other communities can be local too, and you're still supporting local.
right.
um, but just yeah, like just be able to ask other people those kind of questions about where they're getting their food from is really important.
Yep.
So I'd like to give you a minute here to tell people again about your page. I know you have a newsletter, and then what they can find on your page,
Yep.
and where to
So
get your books too, Kelly.
my email newsletter, you go to kellythekitchenkop.com. That's cop with a K /free. And then when you sign up for my emails, you'll get, I don't send them out, only maybe like every other week. And you'll get all sorts of free resources, including the grocery store cheat sheet that I mentioned. And I have two books. One is Real Food for Rookies, and that's for grown-ups, and you can get that on Amazon. And then I have Real Food for Happy Kids, which is like a rhyming book for younger kids, and that's also on Amazon. And my blog is just kellythekitchenkop.com. And there's all sorts of resources on there and blog posts. You can put in the search bar any health issue or food or anything that you're curious about. There's a whole list of recipes, tons and tons of recipes over the years. I've been doing this since like 2008. So I have a ton of information on there. And if ever you can't find something, just shoot me an email. It's kelly@kellythekitchenkop.com.
And Cop with a K.
Cop with a K. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Kelly.
For having me, you guys. And thanks for everything that you guys are doing. I love it. And I'm so grateful.
It was really great be able to have this conversation with you and just bring some more knowledge to our listeners. Really, really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelly.